Be seated, thanks.
All right.
You're good. All right, are we ready to bring the jury in? Good deal. Go ahead.
Jury in the courtroom, Your Honor.
All righty.
Remain seated.
Thank you.
All jurors seated and accounted for, Your Honor.
Thanks, Deputy. Ladies and gentlemen, were you all able to abide by my instructions during the recess? Very good. All right. And Dr. Thogmartin, I'll remind you, you're still under oath. Thanks. Mr. Michaels?
I know the prosecutor spoke to you, Doctor, about, or showed you photographs of Mrs. Oulson's hand and the stippling and all of that.
Yes.
Now, you will agree with me, the first time you'd ever laid eyes on those photographs were when Mr. Escobar and myself were at your office to take your deposition in 2015.
I had seen a photograph of one side of the hand. I think it was the bottom side, or maybe the top side, and you showed me the other side, and it really clarified it for me.
Okay. So your testimony here today is that previous to that day, that someone had showed you photos of Mrs. Oulson's hand?
Yeah, at some point before then, can't tell you exactly who, but I had seen one side of her gunshot wound hand. I can't remember if it was the anterior side or the posterior side. I do remember that, and you showed me the other side, and it really clarified the directionality and how her hand was positioned.
Okay, so you were talking about seeing from our presentation of the photos to you, seeing the posterior part of the hand where you can actually see the stiffening. And all.
Yeah, it was, I can't remember which side of the hand I originally saw, but you showed me a side I hadn't seen.
Okay.
And
A
I
side
can't
that was-
remember.
a side, I'm sorry, a side
sorry.
that was helpful to you
Oh,
in
yes.
being able to explain today.
Yeah, the directionality part. I thought that it was pretty much a flat hand, but when I saw the other side, I could tell that her hand was kind of crooked, and it came in and hit that other. I couldn't even see the pinky finger wound when I originally saw the photograph, so it was helpful.
And one of the reasons why, that didn't concern you necessarily in your job as a medical examiner, because your job is to testify to a reasonable degree of medical certainty the cause of death, correct?
Well, my job is to determine cause and manner of death on certain cases that fall under 406. And then testimony is kind of a separate thing. It doesn't happen all the time. But for those cases, I testify as to cause and manner, directionality, survivability, all these different little things.
And you testify, as I said, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, right? That's kind of the
Yes.
standard for you.
Yeah, some people use reasonable medical probability, but like I previously stated, this case, as far as his cause of death, it's not often, but it's nice. Absolute certainty, his cause of death. There's no reasonable medical on him. He died of a gunshot wound to the chest.
So let's talk about, you talked to the prosecutor about an iPhone, I think, in this case. You recall that?
I think he said a cell phone or whatever, yes.
Okay. And so certainly you can't make any sort of determination based on the hypothetical posed to you by the prosecutor that, number one, an iPhone or cell phone was thrown or not thrown in this case, right?
Yeah, I have no idea.
And certainly you cannot testify as to whether an iPhone thrown in this particular case caused or didn't cause any injuries.
Right, I don't have enough information to know. Like, I don't have velocity, I don't have weight, I have insufficient information.
So in other words, you don't know how much the phone weighs, right?
I saw a picture of one of them that weighs, I have an iPhone, so I kind of know, but I don't know what we're talking about. What is the scenario? How hard was it thrown? How was it thrown? What did it hit? So, and also, you can get hit by an object, but it not leave a mark. Happens all the time.
And so that comes to something I know that you and I spoke about before, is this kind of idea of being stunned. It's a subjective idea, right?
Yeah, it's, I think it was dazed was the term we talked about. What is dazed? What does that mean? I don't know. It's not a medical term. It's just a feeling someone has, I suppose. Very subjective.
Okay, and that may or may not leave a visible injury that one could see.
Sure. You can be dazed by a piece of very bad news, I suppose, in the vernacular of English, right? You can be dazed by something that doesn't necessarily leave a mark. But what is dazed? Dazed means caught unsuspected, maybe hesitant, maybe confused. I don't know. It's hard to say what dazed means to a particular person. I'm way out of my bailiwick here.
Or you could be dazed by a running back getting hit by a linebacker and having a concussion, right?
That would probably fall into the broad category of dazed, yes.
You may be dazed by getting hit in the head with some kind of a blunt object, right?
Sure. If you are, again, we're talking dazed, which is broad. I suppose you could be subjectively dazed by a lot of different things.
Speaking about your bailiwick, you looked at a photograph and the prosecutor asked you something about an injury to an eyelid. You remember that conversation?
Yes.
Okay. Now, certainly, you will agree with me that you cannot make a determination just based on a photo as to whether a person was injured or not.
I'm only assessing the photo. Is there, do I see a visible injury on the photo? And I testified that I can see one eyelid's a little redder than the other. That's all I'm doing.
To determine whether or not there was an injury, you would have to speak to an individual, correct? For instance, do you have any pain in that area, right?
Yeah, it's always better to see, no one does autopsies remotely. You may look at photographs and assess somebody, photographs of an autopsy, but visualizing it yourself is always better. And it's the same thing with a live patient. Seeing photographs of their rash or their tumor or their injury, that's great, but directly interacting with them is superior.
So that's analogous, and correct me if I'm wrong. If somebody sends you autopsy photos, an autopsy that you haven't performed, you can look at it and say, well, it does look like this, it does look like that. Without you actually performing the autopsy, you wouldn't be comfortable in saying 100% this is what it is.
Yeah, I think when you are actually, that's why I'm sitting here and not one of my associates that didn't do an autopsy. The person that actually does it hands-on, their testimony is going to have a lot more weight. Because let's face it, a photograph of somebody's face or a photograph of an injury just doesn't hold water to seeing, touching, and interacting with a person to make a medical diagnosis.
And I know you talked about glasses and how your glasses have saved your eyes, I guess, on occasion you testified to, right?
Yes, sir.
And certainly you would agree with me there are different types of eyeglasses, right?
Yes,
Some may be more sturdy than others,
that's correct.
and some, I hate to call them some old people glasses, you can almost twist in a knot. You wear those kind of
I
glasses?
have seen those,
Okay, and they bend in all kinds of ways.
yes.
So in terms of how that affects any potential injury on the face, you would have to be familiar with the eyewear to make any sort of assessment. Would you agree with me on that?
It would be helpful to assess the eyewear.
And let me ask you this. I know you talked about redness on the eyelid. You said that was a very sensitive part of the body, or what's the wording on that? Gave me the
Fragile,
impression that it was fragile.
fragile, sensitive, prone to injury.
And so that means by rubbing it, right? Like I'm doing now, is that what you're talking about when you said rubbing it?
Yes.
Something like that? Okay. By rubbing it in this fashion, one could make one's eyelid appear red.
You could do that, yes. It is within the realm of medical possibility.
Now, let's say one was, hypothetically, trying to feign injury by rubbing the eyelid. Would you agree with me that using a fingernail would cause more of a pronounced sort of redness?
Yes, a harder object would be more likely to take less force and less time to do that.
And in order to affect the eyelid and actually make it red, one would have to directly apply some kind of either friction or cutting motion directly to the eyelid, right? You can't do that from touching somewhere else.
You'd have to, any part of the skin, if you rub it enough, you're gonna cause hyperemia if you do it long enough and hard enough.
And so somebody rubbing their temple like this, it's not going to make their eyelid red, is it?
No, you have to, when you're rubbing, you have to rub on the spot that you're going to make red. And hyperemia means I'm irritating the tissue and maybe the blood vessels are dilating and I'm creating a welt, or the blood vessels dilate, making the skin appear more red, if that's clear enough.
Okay, I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Thank you. Redirect?
Yeah. Dr. Thogmartin, when you and I were speaking on direct, I didn't ask you any questions about days, did I?
I can't recall.
Came up from Mr. Michaels?
Right now, I remember that, yes.
All right. So, Mr. Michael brought up days being days hit with a blunt object. You remember him asking that question?
Yes.
And then during cross-examination, there was some discussion about a concussion, and you said, yeah, that would be in the broad spectrum of days.
Well, again, I'm kind of uncomfortable with the term days. It's very subjective. It's not in medical books. It's just it's kind of like saying I'm flustered or something. It's one of those words that's not really a medical word, but kind of in the common usage. I suppose if you got hammered by a linebacker in the Super Bowl and you were a little bit out, yeah, it'd fit into dazed, yes.
Okay. I'm following up on Mr. Michael's conversation with you about equating a concussion with days. That's what I want to talk about.
Okay.
So when we talk about what Mr. Michaels was talking to you about, if you are hit with a blunt object that is sufficient to, in the face, I'm talking about the bony area, the chin, the head, anywhere in the head, sufficient to cause a concussion, would you expect to see some type of injury to the facial features or the head if it's not protected by a helmet?
If you're throwing a phone, like
Yes.
in general, you'd have to really hurl it like Nolan Ryan on the pitcher's mound, and I would expect there'd be some sort of obvious injury or mark.
That was just a moment, Your Honor.
You may.
Thank you.
Can I just follow up with one question, Your Honor?
Go ahead. Mr. Martin, you can always have the last word, but we're not going to make a habit of it.
All right, the prosecutor just talked to you about you would expect to see some sort of injury. Certainly, if the object hit one's eyeglasses, potentially you would not see an injury. Isn't that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
May I follow up on
You
that?
may, yes.
We have the eyeglasses sufficient and being hit sufficient to cause a concussion, be dazed. Will the eyeglasses compress into the face and absorb the kinetic energy associated with that blunt object, resulting in the glasses causing injury around the facial area if it's hit in the face? At that velocity, that's what
You're
we're
saying
talking
a
about.
velocities to cause a medical concussion.
That's what your conversation
Okay.
with Mr. Michael.
If you got hit in the face, in the glasses, with sufficient force to cause actual head injury, brain injury, concussion, I would expect to see injuries around the area, and you're hitting the glasses, bridge of the nose injured, around the glasses, some sort of abrasions or something from the frames of the glasses hitting your face.
Thank you.
Thank you. May this witness be released?
I'll stand by, Your Honor.
Doctor, you're free to go. If you get called to come back, you'll have to come back.
Okay.
Thank you. Who's next, Mr. Martin? Or Mr.?
I'm done.
Mr. Garcia.
Calling Alan Proctor.
Okay.
He's here, he's on his way.
They're gonna walk them upstairs and then on the way down.
I don't know if that's used or not, but it's over there.
Come this way.
Cool.
Face her right here, she's gonna be.
Cool.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in this law shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Detective.
That's right.
Go ahead, Mr.
Good
Garcia.
afternoon, Judge. May it please the court, counsel, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Mr. Proctor, I'm going to ask you to speak loudly and clearly, and if you would, please direct all your answers to the jury, please.
Yes, sir.
Can you state your full legal name and spell your first and last name, please?
My first name is Allen, A-L-L-E-N, middle initial W, last name Proctor, P-R-O-C-T-O-R.
All right. Mr. Proctor, what's your current profession?
I'm in pest control
Okay. And prior to that, what were you doing?
and law enforcement.
Okay. Directing your attention back to January 13th of 2014, were you a detective of the Pasco County Sheriff's Office Major Crimes Unit?
Yes, sir, I was.
And you have since retired from the Sheriff's Office?
Yes, sir.
And how many years did you serve the Sheriff's Office?
I started with the Sheriff's Office in August of 1998. I started my law enforcement career in January of 1985 with the Department of Corrections.
Okay. So you started your law enforcement career in 1995? in
85.
corrections? I'm sorry, 85?
That's correct, sir.
And how long were you in corrections?
3 years, 9 months.
Okay. And from there, you went to the Sheriff's Office?
That's correct.
And you started with them when?
August of 1988.
And then you retired what year?
May of 2016.
All right. And back on January 13th of 2014, you indicated that you were a homicide detective?
Yes, sir. I had been in major crimes against persons since January of 1995.
Okay. How many homicides did you investigate in your career?
Approximately 35 as the lead.
All right. First, we'll talk about lead, then we'll talk about assisting. So you were the lead detective for 35 homicides?
That's about right. Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you give us a ballpark of how many homicides you assisted in?
Counselor, a lot of years we had 7 or 8 count from 95 to 16, and some years we had 25, 28. So probably 100 or so at least, if not.
Okay. Hey, the bottom line is a lot.
Yes, sir.
All right. And being a homicide detective, are you sent to various schools
Yes, sir.
and you receive training?
I did.
And do you receive training as far as the investigation of a homicide,
Yes, sir.
the do's and don'ts?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Directing your attention to January 13, 2014, were you on duty that day?
Yes, sir, I was.
Where were you?
I was on the east side of the county. I believe I was probably in Dade City, possibly Zephyr Hills.
All right. Were you asked to respond to the Cobb Theater in Wesley Chapel?
Yes, sir, I was.
And did you respond to the Cobb Theater in Wesley Chapel?
I did.
Is the Cobb Theater located in Pasco County?
That's correct.
What time did you arrive there?
If I might check my note.
Judge May, would that refresh your memory as
Yes.
far as looking at your report or your notes?
Do you mind, Your Honor? Thank you. I was notified at approximately 1:45. I responded there, and I was there about 2:15,
Okay. So it took you roughly
30 minutes.
30 minutes to get there?
Yes, sir.
All right. When you arrived there, where did you go?
I made contact with Major Corbin and my acting sergeant at the time, Tim Harris.
Okay. Upon arriving there, were you briefed of the circumstances that had occurred in Theater 10?
Yes, sir, I was.
Okay. By whom?
By Major Corbin and Detective Harris.
Okay. And prior to January 13th of 2014, had you been to the Cobb Theater before?
Yes, sir, I had.
Had you been in Theater 10 before?
I believe so, sir.
All right. Were you familiar with the layout of the theater?
Yes, sir, I was.
Were you familiar there was a lower, a middle, and an upper section in the theater?
That's correct.
Now, the upper section, is it fair as the Cine Bistro?
That's correct.
Okay. After you're briefed by Major Corman and Sergeant Harris, what did you do?
I went in and I made contact with the man who retrieved the gun from Mr. Reeves.
Okay. And was that Alan Hamilton?
That's correct.
Did you meet with his wife, Angela Hamilton?
I did.
Okay. Where did you meet with him or talk to them?
I believe I conducted the interview with Alan Hamilton in the party room, what they call the party room there at the theater.
Okay. So it wasn't in Theater 10,
That's correct.
different part of the movie theater.
That's correct.
All right. Who did you speak to first?
Mr. Alan Hamilton, Corporal Hamilton.
All right. Now, let me ask you, Detective Proctor, did you, when you met with him the first time, did you speak to him off tape?
Yes, sir, I did.
And why did you do that?
After talking to several witnesses throughout my career, I wanted to make sure that he was going to be able to articulate, tell me what occurred in such a way that I would be able to understand that.
Okay. Well, at the time, did you know he was a law enforcement officer?
Yes, sir, I did. But understand, he's a human first, and every human has different ways of reacting to violence.
Okay. Did you violate protocol as far as talking to him off tape and then on tape?
I'm not aware if I violated a policy. I have done that in the past, and it's never been an issue in the past.
Okay. Well, Mr. Proctor, let me ask you this. Whatever he said off tape, did he say the same things on tape?
Yes, sir, he did.
Was there anything off tape that wasn't said on tape?
No, sir. The thing I do is when he's talking to me, I'm asking what occurred, and I'm taking these notes. And then at the end of that, I tell him I'm going to put them on tape, and then we go through my note, and that's how I'm able to obtain the statement from
All
him.
right. Now, let me ask you, Mr. Proctor, when you spoke to him off tape, where was his wife?
She was out in the lobby.
Okay, so she was not privy to your conversation of Mr. Hamilton when it was off tape.
She wasn't privy to Mr. Hamilton's statement at all.
At all, period?
At all, period.
Okay. All right, so you spoke to him off tape and then you go on tape.
That's correct.
And the entire interview was tape recorded?
The entire
On tape interview?
on tape was recorded.
All right. During the on tape interview, was Angela Hamilton present?
No, sir.
You're positive about that,
I am
right?
positive.
Okay. You conclude the interview of Mr. Hamilton.
That's correct.
Do you recall how long the interview was?
About 5 minutes, I believe, Counselor. I'm not for sure.
Okay.
5 minutes on tape.
All right. So there comes a time that you're going to interview Angela Hamilton.
Yes, sir.
All right. Would you share with us her demeanor at the time back on January 13, 2014?
She was upset. She appeared to be traumatized.
Was she crying?
Yes,
All right. Did you interview her on tape?
I did.
And did you allow Alan Hamilton, her husband, to be in there when you interviewed her?
I did.
Why?
I felt like that she would be more comfortable with her husband being in the interview with her. We're sitting at the table. I recall her sitting directly across from me. Mr. Hamilton sat directly behind her, Corporal Hamilton did. There was no eye contact, no conversation at all through the pre-taped state interview and the taped interview.
Okay. So, just to clarify,
Yes, sir.
you spoke to Miss Hamilton off tape as well,
That's correct.
and Mr. Hamilton was present for that.
That's correct.
And then you went on tape.
That's correct.
Did Mr. Hamilton ever say anything?
No, sir.
Did he ever look at his wife?
No, sir. Like I said, the reason I allowed him to sit into that interview was because I felt like she needed reassurance because of her demeanor. I allowed him to sit there. He knew not to say anything during the interview with her.
All right.
And we sat at the same seat. No, there was no movement there.
Let's talk about off tape first with Miss Hamilton.
Yes, sir.
She gives you a story, right?
Yes, sir.
You go on tape now.
That's correct.
Does she give you the same story or that she told you off tape?
Yes, sir.
And after you hear the interviews or you conduct the interviews of Mr. Hamilton and Mrs. Hamilton, are they identical?
No.
Are there variances?
Yes.
And is it fair to say there's differences too, right?
And that would be consistent with doing separate interviews.
Okay. But let me ask you this, though, Mr. Proctor. That practice is frowned upon, right?
Yes, sir.
You shouldn't do it,
That's correct.
right?
That's correct.
You're taught in the academy not to have two witnesses together and allow them to overhear their statements.
Yes, sir. But the reason I allowed that to happen that particular day was because I wanted Miss Hamilton's best recollection as to what had occurred. There was no involvement in Mr. Hamilton. I wanted to be able to report back to the court system her statement, and I felt like I would have had a better opportunity of obtaining that with trying to give her some comfort with having her husband in that room.
Okay. Now, had Mr. Hamilton not been interviewed on tape, would you have allowed him to sit in on the interview of Mrs. Hamilton?
Absolutely not.
All right. All right, so as far as your investigation goes, you interview Mr. Hamilton, you interview Mrs. Hamilton. Who is the next individual that you interview?
I interviewed Mr. Reeves, Curtis Reeves.
Okay. And where did that occur?
That occurred in my vehicle in the parking lot of the Cobb Theater.
All right. But prior to that, had he been in Deputy Gondak's vehicle?
That's correct.
Had he been handcuffed?
But yes, sir.
Was he in the Tyvek suit when you got to him?
No, sir, I don't believe so. No.
Okay. Now, the person that you came in contact with back on January 13th of 2014, who later became known to you as Curtis Reeves. Do you see Mr. Reeves in the courtroom today?
We will stipulate, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So he's originally in Deputy Gondek's car.
Yes, sir.
How does he get to your vehicle?
We opened the back door. Gondak, somebody opens the back door. He's walked over to my vehicle. I've tried to park real close so that he could get in the front seat of my vehicle.
Okay, and where is your vehicle parked?
It's in the back parking lot. I'm not for sure if I'm on the grass at that time or not, but I was trying to avoid the media the best that I could and to get him in the vehicle without the media
All right.
seeing us.
On January 13th, 2014, what type of vehicle was assigned to you?
I'm not for sure, sir. I think I might have had a Chevy Terrain. I'm not for sure
Okay.
what that vehicle was at the time. I believe it was an SUV, I believe.
Okay. And back on January 13th of 2014, were you on the FBI task force?
Yes, I was.
And was your vehicle assigned to you by the FBI?
It was.
Okay. And that's why you recall now that it was a Terrain?
There again, yes, sir. I believe it was a Terrain at that time. It's I don't remember which one I was driving at the time.
Well, the vehicles that are assigned to other detectives wouldn't be a Terrain or Chevy Terrain, right?
No, sir.
Okay. Is it a small vehicle, large vehicle?
No, sir. It's a full-size SUV.
All right. So you said you're behind the Cobb Theater?
Yes, sir.
So you come in contact with Mr. Reeves.
Yes, sir.
He is placed in the front of your car.
That's correct. We moved the handcuffs from the back because he's sitting in the back of Gonak's vehicle, handcuffed. He's leaning back in the corner of the seat. We transport him from that vehicle to my vehicle, or they move him from that vehicle to my vehicle. When he gets around to the front at the door jamb of my SUV, we remove the handcuffs and we move those to the front for him to sit in the front seat of my vehicle. Detective Koenig is sitting behind me.
All right. And I think you even asked Mr. Reeves, right? Do you have anything else on you, anything? And he said no, they've searched him several times.
That's correct.
So you're going to interview him.
That's correct.
Prior to interviewing him, did you read him his Miranda rights?
Yes, sir, I did.
Do you have that card with you here today?
Yes, sir, I do.
And if you would, please, could you read it?
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him or her present with you while you are being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you for any questioning if you wish.
Okay.
You can decide at any time to exercise these rights, not answer any questions or make any statements. Having those rights in mind, or do you understand each of the rights that I've explained to you? Having those rights in mind, do you wish to talk to me now?
Okay. Did Mr. Reeves agree to speak to you?
Yes, sir.
And did you conduct an interview?
I did.
Was that interview on tape?
It is.
Have you had an opportunity to listen to that tape?
Yes, sir.
Is it true and accurate?
Yes, sir.
Likewise, it's my understanding there was a transcript that was prepared in conjunction with the audio tape.
That's correct.
Have you looked at it?
Yes, sir.
Have you read it?
I have.
Does the audio tape and the transcript comport with one another?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Judge, may I approach the clerk, please?
You may.
Thank you, ma'am. I think I'll be fine, but thank you.
Okay. Your Honor, that's the record reflected. I'm showing what's been marked as State's Exhibit 000 for identification purposes to Mr. Escobar. May I approach the witness, Judge?
You may.
Mr. Proctor, I'm going to hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 000 for identification purposes. First of all, do you recognize that bag?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does it have your handwriting on it?
It is.
And I assume it's dated January 13, 2014?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Judge, at this time, I would move it into evidence as the prospective number, and, which I'm not sure what we're up to.
Judge, we have no objection.
All right, thank you. And that's the DVD?
Yes, the first interview.
DVD first interview is 61. Will be admitted as 61. State's 61.
Judge, may I get a pair of scissors from the clerk, Madam Clerk, please?
Yep. Oh, wow, nice. Uh-huh.
Your Honor, while he's doing that, Mr. Escobar and I.
Sure. You may.
Detective Proctor, Mr. Proctor now.
That's fine, sir.
I'm so used to it. I'm handing you the actual CD. Do you recognize that CD?
Yes, sir.
And how is it that you recognize it?
That's my handwriting.
Okay.
My numbers on it. That's my
Okay.
handwriting.
And you have your initials AP on there?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, let's talk about the bag. The front of the bag, you indicated you recognize it because it has your initials,
Right.
your signature.
Right.
All right. When you took this into evidence and impounded it,
Yes, sir.
was this white sticker on there?
No, sir, it's not.
Do you have any idea who or how it got on there?
I tend to believe that's from Property and Evidence. That's their tracking
Okay.
system.
It's fair to say you don't know when that was put on there,
That's correct.
but it would have been after you had signed it and actually dropped it in the chute or delivered it to property.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not gonna.
You may.
I want to look at your notes. Thank you. And I have it.
Oh, you want?
You want it? Yeah, I want it all. Thank you. Good afternoon, Detective Proctor.
Good afternoon, sir.
May I approach Your Honor?
You may.
And I call you Detective too because we've had these conversations before, right?
Yes, sir, we do.
Sorry.
That's fine.
Mr. Proctor,
You're fine, sir. Detective's fine.
now, in looking at the evidence bag,
Yes, sir.
would you tell the court and the jury the date on that evidence bag?
Is there a possibility I could look at my property receipt?
Sure. You have it in your notes?
I do not have it in my note.
Karina,
It's item
See
4AP.
if we can pull it real quickly for them. And I'm sure they can pull it as well. Let's see. I think I found it for you, Detective.
4AP.
Tell me if, Madam Clerk, just for identification, can we mark it? That's course exhibit number.
We haven't put in the other two yet.
Oh, that's right.
You told me not to mark it.
Right, right.
I guess that's
Well,
gonna be
we're at
number
one.
Number one.
One, that'll be one. That's fine, it's fine. It doesn't matter.
As an exhibit or an ID
Court.
as a,
Court,
Court exhibit?
Court exhibit one. You're gonna put it in, right, Mr. Escobar? You're gonna put it in?
Oh, yeah, I think,
In the
since
record.
we're gonna show it to
Yeah.
them, I think the record ought to reflect
Right,
that.
right.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Proctor, I'm gonna go ahead and approach you, may I have your honor,
You may.
and show you what's been marked as court's exhibit number one.
Yes, sir.
And that was the item that you were looking for, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, so, let's go back to my question concerning the evidence bag
Yes, sir.
that you have in front of you, if I
Yes, sir.
can. And would you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what date you have listed on the bag itself?
1/24/14 at 14:55.
1/24/14. So how many days after the incident that occurred on January the 13th of 2014 would that have been?
11.
11 days.
Yes, sir.
So, you put that CD in that particular bag 11 days after the incident.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so now, when you turn the bag around, would you read to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what the white label says on that particular bag?
Gives the case number.
I want you to read the entire label, if you can, please.
Case number 14001529. PR, I'm not for sure what that is, the pound sign, 496004. PSO, CLS, semicolon, MED, for a PCD interview with Angela Hamilton.
Angela Hamilton.
That's correct.
So that bag is indicating that the contents of that bag should have been Angela Hamilton's CD.
According to the bag, according to property and evidence, yes, sir.
Okay, so we're going to take it one step further.
Okay.
Now, what was in that particular bag that you took out
Yes, sir.
is this little item right here.
That's correct.
Is that correct? And so I'm going to have you, likewise, I'm going to have you read to the jury what the CD says.
The CD says, for AP, Curtis Reeves, over in the corner, I've got 1/13/14, 15/10 to 15/40. That's the date and time of the interview.
Okay.
It says over in the, and I've got up original, and then I've got it verified on 5/3/16.
Okay.
And then the case number down at the bottom.
Okay. And so what you mean by verified is that you got this particular CD and you did what with it?
I verified that with this for the purposes of court. There's other copies of this that I had originally verified it with, but for the purposes of court, I used that. I opened up this package to verify it for the court.
When you opened up this package, did it say, as you've read to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that it contained the CD interview of Angela Hamilton?
That was a mistake, I believe, on the part of the property and evidence. The front of the bag calls, that's my writing on the front. The back is just a label. And as you look at my property receipt, that technically should have been 3 AP. So that they just flip-flopped the property and evidence did. But that, sir, would be the original bag that I placed into evidence with that CD in it.
This was the original CD.
Yes, sir.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. You want a minute?
Yeah.
Okay. We need to take just a real short break for some technical setup. Let's just go, say, 5 minutes. Will that be enough? 10? It will take 10 minutes, and they can go to the jury pool room if they want, or stay back there if they want, whatever you want them to do.
Okay.
All
All
right?
right, we're going to recess for 10 minutes.
You can be seated, thank you. Bless you. You may. Defense? Transcripts are okay too? Okay, good. And you have one for each of the jurors? Fabulous. Okay. When they're ready.
You guys ready? Ready for the jury, Your Honor?
Yes.
Jurors in the courtroom. Jurors may be seated. Jurors are present and accounted for, Your Honor.
Thank you, Deputy. Ladies and gentlemen, were you all able to abide by my instructions during the recess? Thank you.
Yes.
All right, I've got an instruction for you. You are about to hear recorded interviews. These recorded interviews are proper evidence, and you may consider them just as any other evidence. You will also be furnished transcripts for the recorded interviews. The recordings are the evidence, and the transcripts are provided to you only as a guide to help you follow as you listen to the recorded interviews. The transcripts are not evidence of what was actually said or who said it, and they are not evidence, so they will not go back to deliberations with you. If you notice any difference between what you hear on the recordings and what you read in the transcripts, you must rely on what you hear, not what you read. Also, the recorded interview you are about to hear contains opinions and statements by Detective Alan Proctor, Pasco Sheriff's Office, and Detective Todd Koenig, Pasco Sheriff's Office, to Curtis Reeves. These opinions and statements are pertinent only to explain the reactions and responses they elicit. You are not to consider these opinions and statements by the detectives as true, but only to establish the context of Curtis Reeves' reactions and responses. Mr. Martin?
Your Honor, at this time, the state has the agreed-upon transcripts. I have 10 copies. May I hand them to your deputy?
Yes.
I'll sit for a moment,
Okay.
and then
You'll start the audio.
Are we gonna be able to keep these?
No,
No, she just said.
no.
Oh, I didn't hear you, I apologize.
Yeah, sorry. That, that was juror number 7, I believe?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, yeah, no, these are not evidence. There's simply is aids to listening to this recorded interview, which is evidence. Just like if you were listening to testimony, the recording is evidence, not the transcripts. They're just to aid you, and they will not go back with you during your deliberations. They are not, the transcripts are not evidence. What you hear is. All right, go ahead, Mr. Martin.
May I publish?
You may.
$15.10. Yep. How you doing, Curtis?
It's good. I think it's good.
You all right, Curtis? Can you get out of there, man? All right. There you go. Come on, Curtis. My name's Alan Proctor. We'll step over to my car. You all right? Sit here in front seat. Go ahead. Okay.
I got you. Alan, what do you want to do?
You want to cuff him in the front? All right. Curtis, you don't have anything else on you, sir, do you, Mr. Reeves?
I have no idea, my friend.
You want to double check and see if he's got anything else on him?
I think they stripped me
Yeah, they.
at least 3 times, maybe 4.
Okay, cool.
That was one of the reasons I wanted to handcuff Oulson. What are you doing? Just put him in the front room. All right, don't push on me. I understand the concept.
Turn around, face me. Just sit kind of straight back into where you're sitting in the seat.
Curtis, my name's Alan Proctor. I'm a detective with the Sheriff's Office. This is Todd. We're here investigating this shooting that occurred here. I understand you're a retired TPD cop. I want to make sure that everything is okay here, and you know the spiel, you know, well, I got a Miranda, okay? You have the right, your Miranda warnings are, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him or her present with you while you're being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you before any question if you wish. You can decide at any time to exercise these rights, not answer any questions or make any statements. Do you understand each of those rights that I've explained to you?
Yes.
Having those rights in mind, do you want to talk to me about what occurred here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What happened?
Can I have some, got something to drink? Anything? My throat is as dry as dry can be.
Yes, sir.
And I really didn't get to move that left shoulder in me. Well, I do hope the folks sitting on either side of me were paying attention.
What movie were you watching?
Well, we were watching the previews.
Watching the previews?
Yeah.
Okay. How long have the lights been down? A couple minutes?
Yeah. Well, the lights have been down for quite a while because they go through all that stuff. Turning off your cell phone, and the concession stand and all that stuff.
Right.
So I have no idea on the concept of time. 5 minutes.
Brian's going to get a couple more.
Hey, they're going to go get something to drink.
not trying to do anything other than get the feeling back.
That's all right.
Shoulder, Chad.
That's all right. How long you been retired?
20 years.
Wow. You started as a young man then, huh?
Yeah, that's it. I spent, let's see, I went on in October of 1966.
Wow.
Did 27 there. I was a drug distributor at this company for 12 years, and I've been trying to enjoy my retirement for about 9 years.
I understand. Well, he's going to bring you some water.
I don't care if it's cold or it's wet.
All right, sir. I've got some here, but you probably want to drink after me because we've got all kinds of, well, we're going to get you some fresh water. Well, I'm not saying that, but I've been a cop almost 30 years myself, so. And I hate to talk to you about all this.
Well, I'm telling you the damn truth. I hate to be here. This is crazy. It was absurd. I tell retired cops that you don't do this. But I've never had anybody jump on my ass like that.
Right.
It was crazy. It really was. And completely uncomfortable.
I understand. So the lights had been down. What happens?
Well, the guy was playing with his cell phone, so I mean, I was looking after him with cell phone.
Right.
And he told me to fuck off or something like that. I can't remember. So I leaned back and he kept on doing it, so I got up and I went to the manager out front. I said, look, that's bad. I said, I asked him to turn his cell phone off. He was playing with it. He told me to fuck off, so I said, I appreciate it. We got to take care of it.
Okay, so he kept doing it. What manager?
Well, I don't know whoever was sitting at this. Big heavy sack guy with the glass of pound. Whoever was sitting at the front desk up there. I assume it was a man. Then on the name tag, I don't know what it said.
But he's a heavy set guy?
Yeah.
Wearing glasses?
I think so. The powers of observation fade.
I understand. So what happens then?
Come back into the movie, and the guy put his phone away, and I went back to the guy. I said, I see you put it away. I told the manager for no reason. In other words, I went in and ratted him out. If he was going to put it away, I wouldn't have gone, you know. It
Right.
makes sense. And he turns around in his seat and let's get some answer. And he said something about he was answering. You're going to have to get the top.
You got it.
And he said something about he was, I don't remember, if it was any of your fucking business, I was texting my daughter or something like that, and you stay the hell out of my face. I think that's when he said that. So, and his wife was holding back, so I had sat down, and I think I got the bag of popcorn from my wife, and suddenly he jumps up and he turns around and he stands in his seat, which was, well, you saw the crime scene, he was off to the right.
Right.
So as he's pushing on the back, there's a crack between us. So I'm leaning back in my chair, I got nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm leaning back in my chair, so he kept on hollering, and I'm not sure what he said, to be honest with you. He said something, and that led me to believe he was going to kick my ass. And I don't know if that's exactly how he phrased it or not. So I'm looking, briefly, I know I can't go anywhere. So I'm leaning all the way back in my chair, as far as I can to get away from him, and suddenly he's virtually on top of me. So because I'm stretched out, if you look at these pants, pistol was in the right front pocket, and he was sitting down, there's no way you can get it out, so I'm stretched out trying to get away from him. My left arm is out in front of me, and I think I'm saying either no, 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 or whoa, 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 one or the other. And then suddenly my head was to the right, so he hit me with something. And I assume it was his fist, but I don't know. You see, there. Something was wrong with my left eye. Anyway, I had him wash it out for me. So he hit me with his fist or with something. I think he had his cell phone in his hand because I saw the blur of the screen.
Right.
And I got my left hand out in front of me, and he hits me in the face and knocks my glasses sideways. And there was a young Sumter County deputy that came over right afterwards. And I have frames that you can bend them all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But the left side was stretched out, so.
So he knocks your glasses off?
They weren't off, they were partially off, and I fixed them where they fit my head again. And for a while there, I was kind of dazed, and it had to be from the strike, even if it was a glazing blow or whatever. But I felt like I had something in my eye, still do, but not as bad. The fire department guys rinsed it out with some kind of shit. Anyway, I'm leaning back. He's virtually in my lap. I got contact with something with my left hand. It's dark in there. I mean, suddenly this happened so damn fast.
Mm-hmm.
And the trajectory of the bullet should be upward because I came out of my pocket with it, and surprised I didn't shoot myself in the hand.
Mm-hmm.
But and good heavens, I didn't need to do that. That was just, I hate to say that. I've counseled cops for
How many rounds you shoot?
one. I guess you could say I was scared shitless.
Okay.
I got arthritis in both hands. My back's a freaking wreck. I was on SWAT for 15 years. We thought we were supermen, and then as you
Right.
get older, you find out you're a physical wreck.
Okay. And you had that gun in your right.
It was in my right front pocket,
Right.
and I'm stretched out. Well, like I said, you can see the pockets here,
Mhm.
and you can't get it out if you're not completely unstretched out of my seat, sort of like this.
Right.
And I'm holding, I'm whoa, 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 or no, 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 and one or the other. And I'm hitting the face, and it had to be him. And
You got any idea where you shot him at?
I have no idea. I heard somebody say he was shot in the chest.
You see anything in his hands?
I think he had the cell phone. When he turned away from me, I looked down and his cell phone was laying at my feet. So I think that's what he hit me in the face with. I didn't see anything else. And I don't know what you guys think.
I hear you. Did your wife? Where was your wife found?
She was sitting on the right-hand side. If she's paying attention, and bless her heart, there's no justification for what happened in there, so
Right.
I understand her.
Where was your son at?
He wasn't there. We were waiting for him to come in. We'd saved the seat for him and all that sort of stuff.
And this guy's sitting directly in front of you?
No, his wife, I think, or whoever was with him, this lady was sitting directly in front of him. He was off to the right side, which makes it. Yeah, if he'd have been sitting straight in front of me, I'd have just been whipped because I couldn't do anything.
In the row in front of you, right? Right side of the row in front of you? Just one chair?
Yeah. What's the status on this guy?
We don't know yet. We've got people down there. It's not looking good.
All over us.
Yeah. Did
His wife was trying. Whoever was with him was trying to hold him back.
right?
And,
What is he saying to you?
Fuck off! Get out of my face! Fuck you! I'm talking. He was sitting there playing with it, and what he said to me was that he was texting his daughter. Well, he wasn't. He was scrolling through the menu. I think when I leaned over and asked him to turn his cell phone off, he told me to get the fuck out of his face, and so I knew right away that.
What about just immediately prior to the shot? What is he saying to you?
Man, saying, I think that's when he's talking about, he's texting his daughter. If there was any of my, there's fucking there 3 or 4 times, I don't know, if there's any of my fucking business, or I'll kick your fucking ass, or, whatever he was saying was threatening. I gotta be candid with you, I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
It was enough for me to try to look for a way out. And my wife is saying, and when I got up to go tell the manager, she said, well, we should have just moved, is what we should have done. And she said that after the shooting, I think.
Right.
And she's absolutely right. That's exactly what we should have done. So, but it's something that, when he jumped up and turned around, it was no problem. I mean, it's just a guy being mouthy.
Right.
When he jumped on the seat and came over in between the crack between the 2 seats, that's when he scared me.
Okay. Now, you say he jumped up. Now, does he come over the seat, or is he still on his row?
His feet were on the seat. At least one of them was, and he was pushing back with his hand, and he was coming over the seat. Now, exactly where his feet were, I don't know. He was coming over into my area, where I'm sitting.
Okay.
And I'm saying, whoa, whoa, whoa! It's like this is just a cell phone. What the, this is nothing.
Right.
And I don't know if I was saying no, 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 or whoa, whoa, whoa. So he's coming over on me. I'm pushing him off with my left hand, and I had a hold of something. I'm assuming it was probably his chest. I don't know.
With your left hand?
With my left hand. Right.
As he's coming over, do you actually make contact with his?
I made contact with something. His arm, his chest, his shoulder. I'm saying no, 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 whoa, 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 whoa. And like they say in the books, it happened so fast until. And then as soon as I pulled the trigger, I said, "Oh shit, what? This is stupid." But again, I'm 71 years old. I don't need to ask with. I'm a younger man.
How old was he?
I don't know. I'm going to say 35, 40, maybe.
Did you think that he had something other than a cell phone?
I had no idea what he had. All I knew is the guy was coming after me. It's dark. The theater's dark. The show's on. I don't know him. I don't know. I see that he's very explosive, unnecessarily. I don't understand what his motivation is or why he wants to pursue something that's not worth pursuing. I had no idea what his motivation was. But when he jumped up, like I said, it was not a big deal. But then when he started for me and he started yelling, then it scared the crap out of me. I'm thinking, holy crap, what's going on here? And after he hit me,
You keep saying he hits you, but what does he hit you with?
it's dark. I don't know.
Okay.
I think he was wearing dark shirt. Dark.
Okay.
Yep, I don't know. Fist. Like I said, after he hit me, my face went sideways. My glasses came partially off. By now, I'm stretched out completely. I'm in my seat, kind of like this, with my left hand out. And when I shot, he was, hell, it should have been pretty darn close to a contact.
Okay.
I know we're trained not to stick it out in front of us, but
Right.
to be honest with you, I was afraid I'd shoot myself. And all that happened so fast. I'm thinking, this guy's fixing to do me some bad stuff. If I had it to do over again, it would never have happened. We would have moved. But you don't get do-overs.
So what made you shoot him?
Well, I guess it scared the hell out of me.
Okay.
I thought the guy was fixing to beat the shit out of me.
Okay.
I don't know how else to say that. When my
But
glasses...
he never told you that, right?
He said something that led me to believe, and then when the guy starts coming at you with the aggravated position, the contorted face, the fuck yous and stuff like that, I don't think I've ever had anybody get in my face like that. And it scared the crap out of me. If I was 20 years younger or something like that, I might have just wrestled it out with him, but
Okay.
I'm not, all that agility and shit's gone.
Okay.
Actually, I'm very surprised that the last time I shot that little pistol, I couldn't hardly shoot. It had so much arthritis in my hands.
Right.
So,
All right, what else can you tell me?
that's it, I guess. I don't know.
Todd, what did I miss?
Well, I want to kind of make things a little bit clearer. You talked about it came at you in an aggravated manner.
Facial expression.
So let me ask you this. You keep saying that if you had it to do over, you would do something different. If you had it to do over, do you think you could have took him more knowing he didn't have a weapon, that you could have took him physically by
No, man, shit, I can't fight. I'm 71 years old. I couldn't take that guy. I couldn't take anybody, not anymore. I retired, I've gained 20, 30 pounds. I got arthritis in my back, my knees, my hands. I couldn't take anybody.
You think that it could have been prevented by not using the gun?
There's no way that me or anybody else can speculate on that, I don't think. If I had thought that I wasn't going to get beat up, it would have never happened. I was pretty confident after being hit one time that he wasn't going to stop me.
Well, what we got to do is we got to figure out what we're going to do.
Oh, I know.
And we got to figure out.
Wait, okay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You got a lady that was sitting one seat away from me. She should have seen everything.
Elderly lady?
I don't know. She was just a lady. There's a vacant spot. She should have seen something. My wife was sitting right next to me.
Okay.
She should have. I don't know what she was doing, but she was right there. And then there was a space where we left for myself, and there were some other people sitting there. And when I said something to them when I left, they could tell the manager about the cell phone.
And we're talking to everybody just to try to get.
Oh, I know that. Yeah, you talk to everybody before you.
You've handled these kind of cases before. What do you expect us to do? What would you do if you were in those situations?
Oh man, well, let me put it this way: if I wasn't afraid of getting hurt or beaten up, I would have never pulled a pistol. First of all, and I've trained cops when I was on the PD. I actually trained those who counted a lot of those guys. I would. A lot of things are different. When you're in law enforcement, you have coverage if this happens. And what I tell people is, if this ever happens to you, even if you're 1,000% right and the other people are 1,000% wrong, it's still not a healthy thing to get involved in that you shouldn't be doing. So I've been training for years, and I still hang around with a bunch of retired SWAT guys. I was SWAT team commander for 15 years, and I still hang around with a bunch of those guys. And we thought we were King Kong for a long time. And as it turns out, as you get older, you end up with all the injuries that you thought had gone away come back. So we're a bunch of cripples now, I guess you could say. We're laughing and calling ourselves that.
You're not intoxicated or anything like that, right? You know what's going on here?
I don't drink. I don't take drugs. I drank part of a cold drink, and I was eating popcorn when the guy jumped up and turned around. So should be popcorn all over the place in front of where I was sitting, because that went by the wayside almost immediately.
How did that end up by the wayside?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I dropped it or if he knocked it out of my hand. I don't know.
Okay.
All I remember is after I shot him, I laid the pistol on my leg, put my glasses back on, and a young man came over and said he was a Sumter County deputy, and I handed him my pistol. I said, here's the pistol. I said, it's got one in the chamber.
Okay.
And then I straightened out my glasses. I saw the popcorn on the floor. Saw a cell phone right in front of me. And I thought it was mine, but apparently it's his. And I'm thinking that's kind of what hit me.
Okay.
What kind of gun is it?
It's a Kel-Tec 380.
What kind of bullet? I know that's something we're going to find out.
It's a Thunderball made by it's some good stuff.
And you only shot one. To go back to that question I asked you, what would you expect us to do?
Well, I would expect you to, and I hate this term because I've been reading the damn news. I was defending myself. It don't make it any easier for me to accept it, but that's what I was doing. I was defending myself from what I thought was going to be some serious injury. The guy was very aggressive, considerably younger.
if this guy died, do you think it was worth it? Or your actions, nothing's worth it?
Nothing's worth it.
But do you think the actions that you took should have been elevated up to take his life?
I would like to say no. I would hope that the answer to that question would be no. But unfortunately, it's yes. I felt. I mean, I got a bruise on my arm. It takes 2 months to heal. I couldn't take an aspirin. I got a problem with my right eye. The guy hit me on the left side, and I'm thinking, I don't want to be blind. I don't want to be any of those other things as I get older. So.
All right.
I haven't been scared by that many people. Since I've been retired, nobody has ever scared me. This guy scared the shit.
Okay. And how old would you say you thought he was? I know,
Oh, I don't know.
in fact, Proctor asked you that. In his 40s, 50s, 30s?
I'm going to say 35, 40.
In his 30s? And how old did you say you are?
71.
And I missed the part. Can I get your first and last name? So I don't need all your information.
Curtis Reeves.
C-U-R-T-I-S.
R-E-V-E-S?
R-E-E-V-E-S.
All right, sir. What else, Tom?
I think what we need to do is talk to them.
Curtis, we're going to have some people come out. We're going to do GSR on you. We're going to take photographs, photograph your injuries, things like that.
That's GSR.
Gunshot residue.
Sure.
All right. Photograph you, things like that. We'll take it one step at a time, all right? Got any question of them?
Well, do this too. Hey, before you leave. Get all the questions you want, because if you scared the shit out of me, I'm not going to get in trouble. You know?
Well, believe me, you know the system as well as we do.
I know the system 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You understand what we're trying to do, we're doing our job. And you know what, we haven't decided what we are going to do, but if we go talk to them and everything verifies both ways, then we'll do what we think's fair. And
Who's them?
what we think's right. All witnesses.
Oh, okay. Oh, you guys have already talked to the witness. You got to talk to the state attorney, right?
I've talked to 2 witnesses.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's all I've talked to.
Have you talked to my wife?
No, I haven't. I will talk to her. We'll go one step at a time, all right?
She's going, like I said, bless her heart, she's the sweetest thing on earth. I don't deserve her. She could never, ever, ever justify this anywhere. She'll tell you. She made a comment to me that I don't remember what it was, like, what was that, or
Right.
why'd you do that?
I understand. Well, I think that, take it one step at a time. All right? This is Sue Miller here. She's a forensic tech. She'll get you all photographed up.
Well, about the only thing they're going to, I don't know, they looked at the rescue guys, I feel like I got something in the left eye and it's still watering, but.
I don't see anything there, but
No,
you see anything?
no, they rinsed it out. I was kind of pushing on, try to do picture, and I think it's right here on the right to do this strap and shit. That's where I
I got you.
Hey, Alan.
Yeah.
We have helicopters everywhere. So what, if you want to pull up here.
Pull up where?
Like up here where he's going, there's an empty theater, and we'll just walk right inside there. And get out of the way of all these helicopters. Right over there is the number 11 door between these 2 cars. Right there.
Good enough. Here we go. Wait a second, the media's right there too, damn it.
If you want to pull right up on the grass, I don't think.
Of course, they've already shot us back there. I didn't realize they were standing there. They got cameras 15 miles long. You know how that crap works.
They probably already know who I am.
I love being a cop.
To the next round.
I did too.
Mr. Martin,
Yes, Your Honor.
what's next?
Well, Mr. Garcia's going to continue with Mr. Proctor.
Okay.
There's one more short,
Okay,
and so
just leave it.
if you don't mind,
Okay,
otherwise shutting it down.
right, no. Mr. Martin, could you just maybe turn it sideways
I'll be happy
so
to,
I can see all the jurors? Thanks.
I'll be happy to.
Just like that, it'd be fine, because I know your cords.
Yeah, well.
She wanted to see.
Yeah.
She didn't know you were gonna play it.
That's
Judge, what I was gonna do, since the monitor was already out, I was gonna play the second interview.
right now, without further questioning?
Well, I was gonna ask him a few,
Okay.
and then, we're kind of taking it out of chronology,
Mm-hmm.
but if not, it'd be taking the TV and then bringing it back and bringing it and taking it, so if I can proceed, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
All right, may it please the court, counsel. All right, so Detective Proctor,
Judge, I'm going to object. I think some of these jurors that
Can't see.
that whole case is
Huh? Okay.
I'll be glad to do it, Judge.
Now,
I think.
you want to just play the other one and then
I'm good with that.
question?
I'm good with that.
that's
Can you
fine.
do that?
I mean, that's fine, it's kind of out of order, but that's fine, Judge, but
Okay.
I have to lay the predicate and stuff
Yes.
on, I mean,
If he can just show it to me, I will allow him to remove the predicate.
Okay. Maybe.
No objections.
Okay, thanks. All right, so that will be admitted as 62?
62, Judge?
Mm-hmm.
Taylor, I got them, please. And I'll pass to the rest of the court now. You're very welcome. Clerk Sean.
Where'd the other scissors go? Oh, thank you. Are we missing a pair of scissors? Oh, no, okay, good.
Would you like for me to go ahead and?
Yeah, you can go ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and read that instruction again for this one. Same thing. You're about to hear recorded interviews. These recorded interviews are proper evidence, and you may consider them just as any other evidence. You will also be furnished a transcript for the recorded interview. The recordings are the evidence, and the transcripts are provided to you only as a guide to help you follow as you listen to the recorded interviews. The transcripts are not evidence of what was actually said or who said it. If you notice any difference between what you hear on the recordings and what you read in the transcripts, you must rely on what you hear, not what you read. And same as last time, the recorded interview, is this pertinent, the same to this one too? Okay, the recorded interview you're about to hear contains opinions and statements by Detective Alan Proctor, Pasco Sheriff's Office, and Detective Todd Koenig, Pasco Sheriff's Office, to Curtis Reeves. These opinions and statements are pertinent only to explain the reactions and responses they elicit. You are not to consider these opinions and statements by the detectives as true, but only to establish the context of Curtis Reeves' reactions and responses. Go ahead, Mr. Martin.
43.
It's facing the other way.
Curtis, how tall are you?
About 6'1", 6'2".
What do you weigh? You got blue eyes? Look, is there anything else you want to tell me?
Man, I don't think there's anything else to say. I'm sitting back here second guessing myself. Did he hit me? Could I get out of the way? Did this have to happen? Did I need to be here? You guys have given me too much time to think.
I understand.
This is a life. I'll try to make room for you. I don't know what to say, except that this is a life-changing event that I would have avoided at all costs.
I understand.
It's a life-changing event for me, and certainly this young man has a family. And I think I was mentioning to your deputy there earlier, thinking it over. In all my law enforcement career, I don't think I've ever been that scared that quick. Does that make sense to you?
I understand.
I mean, usually something builds and then just something explodes in your face.
Well, we've talked to everybody involved,
Okay.
and nobody sees a punch being thrown.
Right. Well, it's a dark theater, right?
And he's dead.
Oh.
I'm sorry, man.
I'm sorry.
Because, Curtis, I'm sorry because I don't have a choice. Because understand what's going on here. I've got somebody that I respect a great deal. You put your rear end on the line a lot of days.
That doesn't have anything to do.
Yeah, it does. It does. I've been a cop 30 years myself, sir, so I hate to do what I have to do sometimes, but I don't have a choice right now.
I don't know what to say. I'm sitting back here. I'm thinking to myself, my life is ruined, his life is ruined, my family's life is ruined, his family's life is ruined.
I'm going to have to arrest you on a second degree. I've talked it over with the state, and my command staff and everybody's in agreement. You'll have a bond. You know, all the procedures. I'll make sure that they're aware that you're law enforcement. They will treat you with respect, just like if you know how it's just like anybody else. They will take care of you, sir.
Okay, now, my wife is sitting next to me. You're saying that she never saw that guy get close to me and saw me push him back.
No, sir. She never saw a punch.
Well, okay.
She says that he leans over. But, you know, and I asked her point blank, did you ever see a punch? No, I never saw a punch.
I never saw it either.
Did it happen?
I've been sitting back here second guessing myself. I got hit in the left side of my face and my temple. I got my glasses knocked off. There was nobody else there, man. There was nobody else there.
Did your wife see your glasses knocked off?
Not that, you can have to ask her.
Because she says no.
Well, they didn't come all the way off. They came sideways. They didn't come all the way off. If they'd come all the way off, we would have gone on the floor. I would
I understand.
have been able to find him.
All right, sir.
Yeah, I don't, well, I guess at this point in time, I have no alternative. I tried to cooperate, and
I appreciate that.
I guess I better give myself a damn attorney that goes longer time.
I'm sorry, buddy. Curtis. Thank you. I'm sorry, like I said.
Yeah, hold it.
1648.
Go ahead, Mr. Garcia.
May it please the court, counsel. Mr. Proctor,
Yes, sir.
as far as the chronology of events that occurred today, you interviewed Mr. Reeves,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
And during his interview, he had said, "Have you spoken to my wife?"
That's correct.
So prior to your second interview, did you in fact interview Mrs. Vivian Reeves?
I did.
And was that audio taped as well?
It was, sir.
Okay. And then you did the second interview with Mr. Reeves.
That's correct.
All right, now let's talk about when Mr. Reeves was in your car,
The first interview, yes, sir.
the first interview. Did you observe any injuries to Mr. Reeves?
No, sir.
Did you observe any bruising?
No, sir.
Did you observe any abrasions,
No, sir.
scrapes,
No, sir.
anything on his face?
No, sir.
And while he was in your car, what was he doing in the front seat?
Part of the time he was rubbing his eye,
Okay. Which eye?
left eye.
And can you demonstrate for the members of this jury how he was rubbing it? Okay, so for the record, you're indicating the corner of his left eye,
Yes, sir.
and you used your left index finger.
That's correct.
Okay, is that what he was doing that day?
Yes, sir.
Did he complain to you or state to you that he had been hit on any other part of his body?
No, sir.
So it would have been his head, the left side.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, did you photograph Mr. Reeves that day, specifically his face and his eye?
Forensic technicians did that.
Okay. Now, let me ask you, as a detective in this case, if there have been injuries, would you have documented those in your report?
Yes, sir, I would have.
For instance, you would have said, left eye or left side of cheek, there's bruising or a scrape, a mark.
That's correct.
And you didn't do that in this case,
That's correct.
right? You didn't observe anything.
Right, and I actually have that noted in my report.
Okay. As you are conducting the investigation, are you getting bits and pieces of evidence from other detectives, other sergeants, other majors?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, did you ever go inside Theater 10 prior to interviewing the witnesses?
No, sir.
Okay. Why not?
I'd been in that theater, I believe, before.
Okay. And during the course of your investigation, did you learn there were items of evidence in the movie theater?
Yes, sir.
Do you know where?
In the aisle,
Which aisle?
which is later 9 and 10, the back row,
Okay.
the aisle immediately in front of it.
Okay. So is it the first aisle then?
At the top, yes, sir.
All right. And then just so everybody's clear, is there a wall behind that aisle?
Yes, sir, there is.
So if you're informed, Detective Proctor, there's items of evidence in aisle 1, seats 8 and 9, you have a visual picture of where those items would be.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, let's talk about the items. What items did you learn were there?
Popcorn and a cell phone.
Okay. Was there a popcorn bag?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I don't recall, but it was a popcorn bag there.
Okay. Was there a skinny cow wrapper?
Yes, sir.
Was there a spent casing there?
Yes, sir.
Was there also a drink in one of the cup holders?
Again, I'm going to
Yes, sir.
object. I think these are all leading questions.
Approach.
Mr. Martin would like me to notify you that I have collected 10 of both packages.
Okay.
Now.
Thank you.
They're now on my possession.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr.
All right,
Garcia.
thank you, Your Honor. So going back to my previous question, Mr. Proctor, there was a skinny cow wrapper there,
Yes, sir.
and then there was it looks like a drink, some sort of a drink in the cup holder.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Judge, I would object again.
That one's sustained.
All right, Judge. Was there a drink in the cup holder?
Yes, sir.
All right. Other than those items that you have listed, was there anything else?
No, sir. Not in the immediate area, no, sir.
Okay. So being the lead detective, knowing those are the items, did you absolutely have to go up there and view these items?
No, sir. I was told that where those items were located at, we were most concerned about the cell phone itself. And when when detectives arrived on scene, that cell phone is pushed up to the chair in front of him, toward the center, or toward to where the victim had been sitting,
Okay.
in that direction.
Prior to arresting Mr. Reeves, did you meet with your command staff?
Yes, sir. I met with the command staff. We had different units there, different major crime units. They were conducting interviews with the witnesses. They had reported that back to their supervisors. We stood there and discussed what the witnesses had said.
Okay. So prior to the decision being made to arrest Curtis Reeves, you knew exactly what witnesses had been interviewed and what they had said?
Not by name, sir, but I was under the impression when I left that meeting that no witnesses that saw a punch being thrown, no witnesses that saw a cell phone being thrown, and that's when the determination was made to make the arrest.
Okay. Now, in the taped interview, you indicated to Mr. Reeves, "I'm sorry I have to do this, but I have no choice." What did you mean by that
Judge, I'm
statement?
going to object. What's the relevancy of that?
Judge, can we approach?
Okay. Mr. Escobar. Go ahead, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Proctor, based upon the totality of the circumstances, did you feel you had probable cause to arrest Curtis Reeves for second-degree murder?
Yes, sir.
May I have a moment, Judge, please?
You may.
Oh, one other thing I neglected to ask. May I approach the clerk, Judge?
You may. That'll be 63. 63.
Judge, I'd ask the record to reflect, I'm going to show Mr. Escobar triple Q for identification purposes. Judge, may I approach the witness, please?
You may.
Detective Proctor, I'm going to hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibit QQ for identification purposes. Do you recognize the outside of the bag?
Yes, sir.
How is it that you recognize it?
My initials and the date and time that I placed it in evidence.
Okay. Do you recognize the contents?
Yes, sir.
I mean, the bag is open if you want to check it.
Madam Court Reporter, I believe it's QQQ for the record.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Judge, may I have order?
Yeah, as soon as he's done.
Did you, Mr. Proctor, did you receive that holster from Deputy Long?
Yes, sir. You have, yes, sir.
But I think it's already in, Judge.
Okay, go ahead and void dryer first.
Yeah.
That one hasn't come in just yet.
Again, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
May I approach you?
You may.
Mr. Proctor, can you read the date and time on the bag, please?
1/24/13, 13:58 hours.
What was the date of the incident in this case?
1/13, sir.
Can you tell me why we have it's an 11-day lag of that particular item not being in evidence?
I'm not for sure, sir.
You're not for sure.
No, sir.
Now, you're the lead detective.
That's correct.
You're supposed to make sure that items go into evidence immediately.
Yes, sir.
And that bag said that that particular piece of evidence was somewhere, you don't know, right?
It was in my desk drawer.
Is that where you normally keep evidence in a homicide, in your desk drawer?
No, sir. But I have kept evidence there before.
You have, and you've kept it there for a week, 2 weeks, a month?
In this particular case, sir, I kept it there 11 days.
Is evidence in a homicide case not important?
Evidence in a homicide case is important.
Was this case important to you?
Yes, sir, it was very important to me.
But it's okay to just leave it in your desk drawer for any Tom, Dick, and Harry to go in there?
It's under a lock and key, sir.
It's lock and key. That's not proper procedure for the Pasco Sheriff's Office, correct?
That's correct, sir.
In fact, you violated Pasco County Sheriff's Office protocol in doing what you did with that particular item, correct?
I'm not aware of that, sir.
Have you read the protocols?
It's been a while, sir.
No further questions.
Do you wish for that to be admitted?
Judge, I've got one more question that I forgot.
Go ahead.
Did you write the date on that?
That is my handwriting, sir.
So you must have gotten the year wrong as well.
1/24/13 is what it should be, sir.
Is that when this event happened?
No, sir, that's the date and time that I placed it into evidence.
You placed it a year after? Or a year before? I guess a year before.
That's correct, sir. My mistake. I did have the wrong date there, sir.
So you also had the wrong date on the piece of evidence.
That's correct.
And that's against protocol as well.
Yes, sir.
No further.
Do you wish for that to be admitted?
Briefly, Judge. Detective Proctor, you would agree that the incident date was January 13th of 2004, correct?
Yes, sir.
Judge, it was in 2004.
I'm sorry, 2014. I apologize, Counsel. 2014.
That's correct, sir.
All right. So is it fair to say that you're going from December of 2013 into January,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Do you sometimes, even though it's January, would write 2013, but really you know it's 2014?
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's a common thing that happens, I would say, with everyone.
I'm going to
Yes,
object to
sir.
that leading question.
Sustained.
Have you written the wrong year right after New Year's
Yes, sir.
and written the previous year?
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay. So, was it a mistake on your part?
I make mistakes, yes, sir.
You're a human being,
I am a
right?
human being, yes, sir.
I have no further questions.
Okay. Do you wish for that to be admitted as number 63?
Yes, Judge.
And I don't, what is it?
I'm sorry, Judge?
What is it?
A holster.
It's a inside the pocket holster.
Okay. Did you want to publish or?
Yes, Your Honor. May I approach the clerk, Judge?
You may, but she doesn't have it. He does.
Oh, it's over here. May I approach the clerk, Judge?
You may. Any further questions, Mr. Garcia?
No, ma'am, Your Honor.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been conveyed to me that the cross-examination of Mr. Proctor may take a lot longer than 5 o'clock. So we're gonna go ahead and quit for the day and start up early tomorrow, 8:30 tomorrow with Mr. Proctor again and cross. So I don't like to quit early when it can be avoided, but I don't think it can be avoided today. I think it'd make for a very long day otherwise, so we'll just call it a day right now and have you back at 8:30. Remember my instructions during the recess, and I'll see you report to the jury pool room in the morning. Any questions? All right. Thank you. Have a great night, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, we're in recess for
8:30.
Your Honor, here's evidence.
Oh, okay, thank you. Mr. Garcia, can you retrieve the evidence, please?
Yes, Judge.
And do we have both the DVDs?
I'm missing number 61,
The
and
f-
I'm also missing the property, the court's exhibit, number 1. the
Okay.
fences.
That looks like, oh, that's court exhibit. So those both go to her. Is there a DVD in there?
Let me check.
Yep. Where's the other?